Assalamualaikum. Okay, welcome everybody. So basically, today we are going to discuss some further case studies in sports nutrition. So yesterday we discussed three of the case studies which were related to sports nutrition. Today we are going to discuss um, some further case studies, and then definitely we are going to dissect each of the case studies and then discuss further about that. Okay, now I think how many people do we have online? Okay, there are only six, seven probably. Okay, I think we should start. So this is case study number 4. So in this particular case study, we have an athlete um, who is a marathon runner, and she's a female, obviously, with more than 5 years of experience, and she takes on um, new challenges every now and then. Now, she has recently taken up the challenge of swimming across the English Channel. English Channel is a part of the Atlantic Ocean, so definitely that is not something very, very easy to swim across an ocean or a sea. Um, Okay, now she has been quite lean because of the type of sport she has been involved in. Because marathon runners are generally quite lean and they have excellent cardiovascular fitness because they are meant to be that particular way because they have to run for very long hours. Right, so this is the scenario that we have right now. So there are a few questions. Now, first of all, what nutrition recommendations would you give the athlete in regards to fat intake to address both her physical and dietary needs over the next 12 months as she trains for the swim? Include suggestions for fat intake before, during, and after the actual channel swim. Okay, right. So now the scenario is that basically that marathon runner has been on a different training regimen, has been on a different diet because of the kind of sport she was involved in, and now since she is going to accept a new challenge and she's going to um, get herself involved in something new, which is swimming, and that is very, very different, and accordingly we have to give some dietary recommendations to her specifically regarding her fat intake. And more deeply they have asked about the fat intake before, fat intake during, and fat intake after the exercise. So if any one of you has some recommendations, please go ahead. Let me put the first one in front of you. Well, the first recommendation from my side would definitely be that she should increase her fat intake a little bit because one of the major functions of fat is that it provides insulation to the body. So, to swim across the English Channel, to swim across an ocean, that is definitely not an easy task. And the water there is extremely, extremely cold. So in order to cope up with that particular situation, she would need that little bit of extra insulation, so that insulation can keep her body little bit warmer. Right, so first of my recommendations would be that she should gradually increase her fat intake. Right, please go ahead if you have any further recommendations. Obviously, when we want to increase the fat intake of that athlete, that does not mean that fats should be coming from um, not so healthy sources. In fact, definitely we are going to recommend more of unsaturated fats to her, that is MUFAs, monounsaturated, and PUFAs, polyunsaturated fats. Fiz Khan is asking in between 25 to 35%. Yes, but we would stick with the upper range, that is 35%. So the ranges are always mentioned so that you can actually adjust based on the particular scenario. So now we know that for athletes, the normal range for fat intake is approximately 25 to 35%. But according to the given scenario, we would be sticking to the upper range, that is 35%, right? So we would be giving the athlete 35% uh, of the calories from her fats. And obviously, another recommendation would be, since she would be increasing her fat intake, so her total caloric intake would also be increased slightly, because definitely she will be consuming more fats. So consuming more fats means that she would be consuming more calories. So that is absolutely fine, because welcome, Madam Javeria and Madam Tuba. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining in here. Okay, all right. So, what else? If any student wants to add anything to this, we have already studied that in order to gain weight gradually, an athlete only needs 100 to 200 additional calories per day. So she does not need to make any drastic changes to her caloric intake, because that will also be not something very very handy, considering that she is an athlete and she has been involved in marathon running for so long. So her body is definitely used to that particular type of um, diet which the marathon runners generally do. So what we need to do is we need to just add 100 or maybe 200 calories or something in between to her daily diet, nothing more than that. And for that we would definitely be recommending nutrient dense foods for her, definitely not energy dense, so that obviously at the end of the day she has to swim, and she has to swim for long hours. So definitely we cannot recommend her consuming calories from energy dense foods. Rather we would be asking her to consume calories, additional calories from nutrient dense foods. Okay, Fiz Khan is asking, sir, but वो total calories जो उनकी required हैं उनसे वो अपना फैट परसेंटेज यूज कर सकती है, लाइक उसे अपनी कैलोरीज इंक्रीज करने की जरूरत तो नहीं. No, actually, she should increase her overall caloric intake as well. Why do I say that? Because previously she was involved in marathon, and now she is going to be involved in swimming, and swimming across the ocean. So for that, you definitely need stronger body, and that stronger body could be because of increased calories. So definitely on one side she has to increase her protein intake, because you, as a swimmer, you definitely need stronger muscles. But those additional calories should also come from fat, because as I mentioned you in the very beginning, she also needs additional insulation for her body, right? So, are you getting my point? Because fat is the only macronutrient which provides you insulation, and to get that additional insulation, because I'm mentioning again and again, she is taking up the challenge of swimming across the English Channel, which is an ocean basically. So it's not easy, and that ocean has very very cold water. So it's not, remember the Titanic scene, the last scene in which there was destruction all over. So people did not die because of any other thing, but they died because of the extremely cold water. So that is what we are talking about. And if I'm not wrong, Titanic was also that incident also happened in the Atlantic Ocean. So we are given the same scenario here, right? Okay, and a few examples, if anyone could give, of nutrient dense or unsaturated fats. So maybe nuts, seeds, what else? Olives, avocados, because we are not discussing a Pakistani case here. We are discussing a case which is US based. So avocados are naturally grown there. So there are quite a few varieties of avocados grown in the US. So avocados could be a good option. Similarly, fruit juices could be good. Breads maybe, um, again milkshakes, low fat smoothies, low fat milkshakes, all of these could be good options. Okay, again Fiz Khan is asking, after calculating her total energy requirement we have added more calories. Yes, after calculating her total energy requirements we are simply adding 100 to 200 additional calories to her total caloric intake. So say for example, if her total caloric intake came out to be as 3000, because assuming that she's an athlete, so athletes do have far more additional caloric requirements compared to the conventional individuals. So if her total caloric intake is 3000, so we are going to give her 3200 or maybe 3100 calories per day. Banana is saying olive oil, yes. Peanut butter, cheese, yes. Low fat cheese, maybe. Rape seed, okay, fine. Desi ghee, okay. Desi, US athlete, desi ghee, okay, yes. In the name of clarified butter, we can still give maybe. Just a little bit of, not too much, at most 1 teaspoon. Okay. Now, what about the fat intake pre-exercise, post-exercise, and during exercise? What is your take on that? Should she be increasing fat intake before exercise, or during exercise, or after exercise? And if she does increase the fat intake on all the three occasions, so are there going to be some implications, or what is your take on that? So then I want your opinion first, then I'll give mine. Yes. Okay. So no one is willing to answer. Okay, Manan is saying not during exercise, neither before. Hmm. Okay. Right. Anyone with a different viewpoint? Samra is saying she must consume fat before exercise. Okay. Why do you say so? Well, my take on this is that first Khan says, I guess before and after. Manan says post exercise meal and overall intake is okay. Okay. Right. Okay, more or less correct opinion. I would. Aisha Shahid is saying before exercise. Okay, so my take on this is that first of all, if we talk about before exercise fat intake, a little bit of fat intake before exercise is not harmful in this particular case, because that would also, add some satiety value, and keep that would give her the extra insulation required. So bit of fat intake before exercise is absolutely fine. During exercise, definitely I would keep the fat intake to a minimum, because as you know, fats are the most caloric dense macronutrients. So if during exercise she starts consuming fats, then whether it is even liquid fats, then it is definitely going to be troublesome, because she would end up with some GI discomfort, or maybe some nausea, because again, swimming is a very very hard sport, and with a stomach full of fats, you cannot really swim for long. And after exercise, again, fat intake should not be so much, because you need to have ample room for appropriate carbohydrate and protein intake. And you have already covered in detail that post exercise, an athlete definitely needs a good amount of good quality of carbohydrates and good quality of proteins as well. And general recommendation is that carbohydrates and proteins in the ratio of 4:1 is very very good for the post workout recovery of athletes. So that is something we should be aiming at. So not uh, too much intake of fat after exercise. Even Vardhan, okay, Vardhan is saying, oh, ठीक है जी. Okay, so I think that's good enough. Um, let's move to the next case. In the case study 5, we have a male athlete who is a basketball player, and he is quite busy doing his practice, doing his shots, and in addition, definitely he is a student. So he has a busy campus life because of his academic activities, as well as his sporting activities. In addition, he does not find enough time for meal planning or grocery shopping and food preparation. And definitely, it's a US based case, so definitely we can assume that they are not so blessed, just like us, because if you don't have time for yourself, no other person in the family would be bringing groceries for you. So we take these small things really really granted. Okay. What about dinner? Dinner is usually consumed at the athletics training table during the week, and the rest of his meals are consumed either at home or local restaurants. Okay, so point to be noted. He is an athlete, but he's still eating frequently at the local restaurants. A 3-day food record kept by that athlete. It shows that his energy intake was not according to his needs, and moreover, his vitamin A, vitamin C, and folic acid levels were also consistently low. Um, Also, his vitamins and mineral requirements other than vitamin A, C, and folate, they're also, but no, they are at par. They are at par. So basically, the low levels are from vitamin A, vitamin C, and folic acid. Right. Okay. So the first question: what questions should you ask the athlete about his typical daily diet? Okay. Definitely, I would be taking his diet history, which includes how frequently he consumes fruits, vegetables, and carbohydrates during the day, and I would be asking him about his daily routine. Uh, how much time does he spend on activities other than his academics, or maybe sporting activities, that is maybe social media or mobile phone or stuff like that. It may be that uh, definitely we know that on one side he is very very busy with his sports and academics, but maybe he might be spending awful amount of time with social media or gadgets or stuff like that. The time which he can actually spend, or at least the part of time that actually he can spend doing his groceries, or maybe um, planning his meals, doing some cooking on his own. Okay, Manan Qureshi is saying because we need fat. Okay, I think you are answering the previous case study. Because we need fat in her skin, eating right before exercise won't drive fat directly to skin. It takes time, so over time increase in adipose tissue will help. That's my take. Okay, fair enough, right? um Okay, any other questions? Sir Naveed is also here. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. Sir, how long it takes to get 16 inches bicep? Okay, sir, I'll tell you. I'll determine the time, and then I'll get back to you about this. I don't have a 16-inch bicep, so I'm not really sure about that. Let me ask some of the persons who have this. Okay, Ji. Question number two is, what recommendations do you have for the athlete to improve his dietary intake of vitamins and his energy intake? Okay, I want more of the contribution from the students. So first of all, definitely I always emphasize on this: five a day, which is the five servings of fruits and vegetables per day. So if the athlete starts consuming that on daily basis, definitely his vitamin A, vitamin C, and folic acid levels are going to improve. And in addition, it was also mentioned that his energy intake is less. So for that particular thing, I would be recommending him to increase the frequency of meals, maybe start consuming some healthy snacks throughout the day rather than having three snacks per day. He should be consuming 5 to 6 3 meals per day. He should be consuming 5 to 6 meals a day, which can include three main meals and three healthy snacks as well. So that would definitely increase his total caloric intake. And if he increases his fruits and vegetables intake, that is definitely going to help him improve the levels of different vitamins and minerals, specifically, as was mentioned, vitamin A, vitamin C, and folic acid levels. um, in addition, maybe low fat dairy products can be included in his diet, because in general, since we are talking about US, so their milk and yogurt, cheese, even all these are fortified with vitamin A. So that is also going to help his cause as well. Um, Breakfast cereals in the US are also 99% of the time they are fortified with vitamin A or vitamin D. So these are a few pointers from my side. If any of the students wants to add something to it, he or she is more than welcome. Okay, question number next is, how can you help the athlete meet these recommendations? Okay, how can we help, right? So maybe we would help if, being a sports nutritionist or a registered dietitian, he comes to us, then definitely we are going to help him make a shopping list, so that as it is already mentioned that he does not have much time. So with the shopping list in his hands, he would have to spend less time in the grocery stores, and he would be able to pick up all the healthy, nutritious, caloric dense foods which would be there on his shopping list. That could be one suggestion. And number two, definitely I would be giving him ideas regarding healthy snacks, or the snacks which he can easily make on the go. Maybe a healthy fish sandwich, tuna sandwich, or maybe a healthy chicken sandwich, which should be homemade. Maybe he can quickly pack, a bowl of low fat yogurt, some low fat cheese while he's on the go, or he is spending time at the campus, or yes, that's pretty much it. What else? I think what he can also do is he can actually try and become more organized. I would say that is, he needs to chalk out a timetable for himself and dedicate specific time, even though it may be 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but he needs to dedicate some time for his meal planning, maybe groceries once a week. He does not need to go for grocery shopping daily, but if he has a certain shopping list, or if he becomes more organized, then he can definitely um, do that stuff as well. So these are the kind of things which I would help him with. So if you have any other suggestions, Faiz Khan is saying, can we recommend him frozen food? Not really, not really, because frozen food, again, frozen foods come with a lot of preservatives, lot of artificial flavors, maybe colors. So in the long run, that is not going to help him. Again, we are talking about athletes, so they do need some extra antioxidants as well. Frozen vegetables, even known, these are, even the frozen ones are not good options. Frozen vegetables or frozen fruits are not good options because they have quite a few preservatives, and the antioxidant content of the frozen ones is also decreased. The nutritional content is also decreased because, as you know, there are some vitamins, there are some minerals which are sensitive to light, which are sensitive to storage. For example, in one of my videos regarding vitamin C on my YouTube channel, I also mentioned that vitamin C content is reduced significantly if you store your fresh fruits and vegetables for a long period of time. So definitely not. We are not going to recommend him consuming fresh fruits and sorry, frozen fruits and vegetables. We are definitely going to start using fresh fruits and vegetables more, and also at least 3 to 5 servings. Okay, I think that is pretty much about this particular case study. Now, case study number 6. We have again got a female athlete in this case study. She is the one who takes part in triathlon. I've already taught you what is a triathlon. Triathlon is a sporting event which is also there in the Olympics. So it comprises of swimming, it comprises of marathon running, and it comprises of bicycling. So basically, there are three portions of this triathlon. Hence, it gets its name. Tri means three. So triathlon. It's a very very tough sport. Now, recently in a half Ironman race, she experienced nausea, cramping, and diarrhea on the run. And definitely, when she experienced those symptoms, she had a very poor performance. What is a half Ironman race? Well, Ironman race is a sort of challenge, you can say, which is basically a triathlon, but it covers a lot of miles. I don't exactly remember, but it is a very, very long sort of triathlon. It takes approximately 12, 13 hours to complete without any breaks whatsoever. So it's an extremely, extremely tough sport. And half Ironman race is when you cover half of the distance and you cover half of the miles. So that is called the half Ironman race. So that simply tells you that only the most fit and most, healthy and active kind of athletes can either compete in half Ironman or a full Ironman race. Okay, now coming back to the case study, yes, the entire race in which she took part last time took approximately 6.5 hours, and during the bike portion, she consumed 100 ounces of a relatively new sports beverage, um, along with two energy gels. Now, on the run, she consumed sips of the sports beverage provided on the course, but switched over to water once she started experiencing the symptoms, which were nausea or intestinal cramping and diarrhea. She was definitely not happy with her performance, and she now wants to make sure that it does not happen to her again. And now she comes to you, being a sports nutritionist, And what you do initially is that you ask her about the sports beverage which she consumed during her race, and she brings you that particular can of the beverage, and upon reading the label you come to know that per 8 ounce serving it gives 60 calories, 15 grams carbohydrates, that is one serving, 0 gram protein, 0 gram fat, 100 milligrams of sodium, 50 milligrams of calcium, 30 milligrams of magnesium, and 100 milligrams of potassium. Seems to be a bit too much of everything for me, even before looking at the questions, I believe. Okay, so the first question is, what could be a potential cause of the athlete's nausea, intestinal cramping, and diarrhea during the race? Hmm. Okay, right. Very, very interesting. So this is, I think, the most interesting case study we have covered so far. Khadija Tahir is asking she needs to try another form of sports drink, that is hypotonic. Okay, fair enough. But first of all, we are discussing the question. First question is, what could have caused her specific symptoms? What could be the answer to this? This is very, very interesting. I think you have the case studies in front of you. So if you read out the label, the answer is somewhere there. So it's a hint from my side. First Khan is saying she consumed too much sports drink. Yes, that's right. She definitely consumed too much sports drink. But what exactly caused her symptoms? That is the question I'm asking you. That's interesting. And if anyone answers that, I would, what I should give? I would be giving a couple of marks in internal assessment if someone gives an accurate answer to this. Okay, now you should be active. Fatma Alamgir is saying concentrated energy drink. Yes, that's right, concentrated energy drink. Agreed. Fasani is saying she drank water after sports drink. Was it mentioned? I am not sure. Ambira, hypernatremia. Hmm. Okay, hypernatremia. Maybe. What did the label say? Let me have a look at it again. Okay, it said per 8 on serving, 100 milligrams of sodium. Not really. No, it's not hypernatremia then. Hmm. Yes, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Yes. Okay. Iram Kiani is saying, cause she switched to plain water. No, not really. Muniba Tariq, overhydration. No, not really. That's a good way of actually waking you up. So everybody has become like um, very, very curious now, since the time I've mentioned that you would be getting 2 marks in your internals. It's a good ploy. Okay, Mayasha is saying due to sips of sports drink. No, not really. In fact, sips are good. Manan Quresh is saying, sorry, I missed your question. My question was that what actually caused the symptoms? That is nausea and vomiting and intestinal cramps and stuff like that. So definitely we know that the cause of the symptoms is she overdrank the sports drink. Agreed. Now, what is actually there in the sports drink which caused this and how? Maybe. So, I'm looking for a more detail. You have become half nutritionists by now. It's been 5 semesters. So, Khadija, high carbohydrate, not really. No. It's not high carbohydrates. Two gels. No, not really. Along with two gels, yes, definitely gels have, along with the consumption of sports drink, she has consumed two energy gels as well. So it's a lot of consumption actually during running. Misha Nidhi saying she's consuming large amounts of drinks right after her session and in between, also which makes her nauseated. Yes, that we know. My question is, what actually is the culprit? What ingredient is the culprit and how? Fatima Tahir is saying she was dehydrated post exercise. No. Muniba Tariq is saying it was the new sports drink that she hadn't really taken before. That's right. And that generally happens. But what is there in the new sports drink that she consumed more? That is the actual question. No? So that is the point of interest I have right now. Hmm. I know this is a tough one. I believe that it's a tough one. Protein content? No, no, not really. Protein is very innocent. Protein does not cause too much of nausea or vomiting. First kind because viscous nature it upsets her GI. Any info about sportsman? Yes, I have given you the complete info about the sportsman. Don't you have the case study in front of you? I've already given you that. So Aisha Zizi says no amount of fat and proteins. No amount of fat. No, not right. That is not the case. Aisha Shahid, she really needs electrolytes after exercise, but she took plain water instead. No, but she started having those symptoms during the exercise, which really affected her performance and stuff. Fatma Alamgir says, iron's disturbance, not really. Khadija Tahir, high potassium. Okay, you are probably near. Not, it's not really potassium. Did she take high potassium? Do you remember the RD of potassium? Not really. I don't think so. Anyone remembers the RD of potassium? No, but it was not high potassium. Muniba Tariq gels? No, not really. Because gels generally do not have those kinds of sodium and potassium and other things. Artificial sweetener? No, it's not. That's some raminate glucose polymer caused such disturbance. No, and now you are all going to hate me because I probably attached your additional internal marks to a very tough question. So I had no idea that it is going to be sort of magnesium. Okay, first Khan has finally reached the correct answer, but that is not the entire answer. How? How is magnesium the culprit in this case? That is right. That is so right. Magnesium. So kudos to Fiz Khan. But how? I have said that's right. No, it's not calcium. Magnesium is right. But how? You need to give me logic. Otherwise, I'm not convinced. A bit of calculation is involved, and I know you hate calculations just like me. Uh, it's antagonist of sodium. Magnesium? No, no, no. Magnesium is not. Potassium is antagonist of sodium, right? Magnesium is not. Not really the case. Yes. So the first thing is now clear. The culprit is magnesium. So I think uh, half work has been done. Interaction? No. Interaction with what? With my interaction with my students? Somewhat like that? No, not really. That does not cause bad symptoms. That gives a good. That always gives me a good feeling. Okay, I think one last minute, and then I'm going to tell you because that would eat up a lot of time. Ambira says magnesium has a laxative effect. Somewhat closer. Not really. You can say it has a laxative effect, but you are quite close. You're quite close. Um, Mayasha is saying dehydration slows down stomach emptying and upsets the normal rhythmical movement of her gut, and due to empty stomach, then she drinks sports drink. Not really. Aswan says question repeated. Okay, I'm repeating the question. I have asked you that what is the actual culprit that has caused the athlete these symptoms of nausea, vomiting, intestinal cramping, these things. Fiz Khan has already said that it's magnesium, which is right. But now I'm asking you, how is magnesium a culprit in this particular case? How is magnesium causes these symptoms? Fiz Khan is again saying interaction between minerals. No, it's not interaction between minerals. Muniba Tariq, the body tries to flush out the excess magnesium. Hmm. Yes, it must be trying. Definitely. Anything you take in excess and the body does not like it, it tries to flush that. Um, that's right. Manan is saying this situation. Actually, you missed the statement. Okay. Oh, for that we need to go back to the case study. Okay, Aisha Shahid is saying sports drinks have too much of magnesium citrate that may cause diarrhea due to its laxative effect. Hmm. Well, no, it's a bit vague. Not all the sports drinks, first of all, have too much of magnesium citrate. Number one, number two, magnesium does not have a laxative effect actually if consumed in appropriate amounts. So the more the concentrated drink, the more chance of diarrhea. Yes, that's right. That is obviously right. The more concentrated the drink is, definitely you can get more GI discomfort and all those sorts of symptoms which are mentioned there. Okay, let me explain this to you because it needs a bit of explanation. Now, for Manan specifically, I'm reading the label again. Now, if you missed that, basically that athlete consumed uh, a sports drink, and she consumed the 100 ounce amount of that particular sports drink. And when you went through the label, it said that per 8-ounce serving, the sports drink gave 60 calories per 8-ounce serving. 60 calories, 15 grams of carbohydrates, 0 grams of protein, 0 grams of fat, 100 milligrams of sodium, 50 milligrams of calcium, 30 milligrams of magnesium, and 100 milligrams of potassium. Now, here is the catch. Now she consumed 100 ounce of that sports drink during the race, and that means per the label is per 8 ounce serving, right? So 100 divided by 8, that is 12.5, right? 100 divided by 8. Why we are dividing 100 by 8? Because she consumed 100 ounce of sports drink, and the label states that the mentioned quantities are per 8 ounce, right? So 100 divided by 8 gives you 12.5 servings. So first of all, that means that she actually consumed 12.5 servings of that sports drink during the race. Number one. Now, number two, if we want to calculate how much she consumed each of these nutrients, that is carbohydrates, that is total calories, calcium, magnesium, potassium, so what do we have to do? We have to simply multiply each of the quantities by 12.5, right? So say for example, if you want to calculate how much calcium did she consume, you just have to multiply 50 into 12.5, because 50 milligram is the amount of calcium provided by one serving, and she consumed 12.5 servings, so 50 multiplied by 12.5. Similarly for magnesium, 30 multiplied by 12.5. For potassium, 100 multiplied by 12.5 milligrams. And for carbohydrates, 15 multiplied by 12.5 grams. So this is what she consumed overall. Now when we come to magnesium, we find out that if you multiply 30 by 12.5, which is 30 is the amount of magnesium per serving, and 12.5 is the total number of servings she consumed. So 30 multiplied by 12.5, that becomes 375. I'm repeating, 30 multiplied by 12.5, that is equal to 375 milligrams. Right? Now here is the catch. I think you don't remember the let me read some comments. Manan is saying, so she clearly overdosed the minerals for a single time. Yes. First Khan, there osmotic activity of unabsorbed salt in body. No, not really. Manur, so toxicity of any mineral may cause nausea. Yes, that's right. Manan Kuresh is saying 375. Yes. So we are talking about Manur is quite close actually. Yes, that was the toxicity, but of which mineral? It was actually magnesium, because I know that you don't remember the UL for magnesium, and the UL for magnesium is 350 milligrams. 350 milligrams. Aisha is saying high magnesium might have increased the lactate levels as it's involved in the energy production. Yes, that's pretty much the case. So the UL for magnesium is 350 milligrams, and she even consumed magnesium beyond the UL. That was, she consumed 375 milligrams. And the side effects of overconsumption of magnesium include nausea, diarrhea, maybe vomiting, and intestinal cramps. So that is the reason why she was feeling nauseous, why she was feeling, diarrhea, why she was feeling cramping, right? So that is because she overdosed with magnesium. So definitely she shouldn't have consumed 12.5 servings of that particular sports drink, and that would have definitely served the cause for her, right? Next question is, and the last question is, what recommendations would you give her to prevent the symptoms from occurring in the future? So a simple recommendation is to go easy on the consumption of sports drink. That is pretty much it. 12.5 servings of such a sports drink, which is quite high in magnesium, potassium, and calcium, that is a bit too much. So always remember that whenever you are going to evaluate a sports drink or a sports beverage, as sports nutritionists or registered dietitians, you should always remember that you need to watch out for the carbohydrate content, you need to watch out for the sodium content, and you need to watch out for the potassium content. These three are the most important ones whenever you are trying to evaluate the label of any sports drink. And in this case, the magnesium was the main culprit. So in addition to carbohydrate, sodium, and potassium, if there are other electrolytes as well, so you have to evaluate those electrolytes too. And always remember that electrolytes in sports drinks, which are providing amounts beyond their UL, can definitely be can result in nausea, or diarrhea, or cramping, or GI discomfort, or stuff like that. So Manan is saying, if only I had heard the statement, it was happens. So those 2 marks were not in your fate actually. Doesn't matter. Better luck next time. Okay, so that is pretty much it. I think this was I really enjoyed this case study. I think you hated this case study, and you hated me as well for doing this to you, but I really enjoyed this case study. Okay, I think again it's time for Maghrib prayers, and we have covered 3 more case studies as well today. Now we are only left with the 4. I'll try my level best to cover those 4 studies tomorrow, inshallah. At the same time, I will be sharing the link for online streaming with you, inshallah, tomorrow morning. And it will be good if you join me live, so that we can quickly cover up the remaining 3, 4 case studies that we have. And do let me know if you are enjoying the case studies or not, because for me, solving case studies, doing case studies is by far the Poppy, I think I cannot read the name. Someone is saying case studies are fun. Yes. So case studies are definitely really interesting. They are very nice to solve. You end up using your brain, which is very good. Using your brain sometimes. So, and most importantly, on a very serious note, you tend to learn a lot, because in the practical life, that is pretty much what you are going to get, inshallah. People coming from different backgrounds, with different requirements, with different diet plans, with different eating, or maybe exercise regimens, so you have to adjust accordingly. So this is something very good. And some of your seniors are also in there, so they know that I have always encouraged doing case studies. So again, even if you will be willing, I can also do some of the clinical case studies with you later on. Not now, I'm not saying take it as a burden, but if and when um, whenever you feel like doing, you can always tell me, and I can also always discuss some of the clinical case studies with you. Again, I've got quite a few real life case studies from clinical nutrition, and those can really help you, because now most of you who are present online right now are at least in 6th semester. So by now you have studied your dietetics 1, dietetics 2, meal planning and management. So you are in a very good position to solve case studies, and brainstorm a bit. So case studies are very good in terms of learning. Manu Imran is saying, who will get the marks? No one would get the marks actually, because no one told the precise answer. So no one. Okay. So inshallah, we'll meet tomorrow, same time, 6 p.m. for the remaining case studies, and we do hope to finish all the 3, 4 case studies tomorrow, inshallah. Take care, stay at homes, and observe self quarantine. Inshallah, we'll meet tomorrow. Allah Hafiz.